Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're going to build an Embraer 190 from Revell on scale 144. So let's open the box and see what we have inside. So we're going to start that kit review with the instruction sheet. And the instruction sheet is an A4 format, as you can see, full of colors, very nicely done. Lots of information about the colors in many different languages, the kit description, and all the instructions. They give you also some details about the cockpit, what colors you have to put, the weight you have to put in the nose, so it's going to be 20 grams, and all the rest and useful information to build that kit. Then you have the decals options on the last two pages. So you have a top view and the right view for the Embraer, and that comes with the Lufthansa Regional livery, the old color. And then you turn the page and you have the left side with the underbelly of the aircraft. Now we're going to check out the decals, and those decals are made by Revell, and I have to say they are very good quality. You have the choice of either putting directly on the fin and have that royal blue color, or you could paint it and then you have those small decals will do the jobs. And honestly, I normally try that because painting blue can be sometimes a bit of a mess. So otherwise you have all the panel lines, which are really nice. You also have the windows decal, so if you don't want to fill up your windows, then you have that option as well. Now let's open the kit and see how the kit is presented. So we have two screws, actually three. As you can see, the first one is the left side with the wing. We have the cockpit details. It's already built in, so we're gonna maybe build, or we're gonna paint it. I haven't decided yet what I want to do. You have the flaps fairing, you have one engine, and you have the core engine and both intakes, and the undercarriage on that part. And then we're gonna move to the second part, where you have the right side, the wing. As you can see on that kit, there is some issue over here where the plastic mold basically has been, you have a lot of plastic went above the mold, so we're gonna have to do that correction, but nothing too difficult. You have the wheels, the fan, and the underbelly, or the bottom side of the aircraft. The last screw is about the windscreen, and that's about it for the kit. So nice little kit, and enough of talking, and let's start building.
So initially I will start this build by preparing the cockpit. So but later on you will see that I finally closed the window and the cockpit windshield due to the decals, but ideally I wanted to have the cockpit. So what I did, I painted an overall gray on the cockpit, then painted the seats, and then the instrument panel, of course. And but unfortunately later on I realized that due to my decals, the decals were made basically, and all the title and the airline livery were made with the passenger window, so I decided to close everything a little bit later on. After finishing the cockpit, we're gonna glue it into the fuselage, and then I will use some modeling paste as a ballast to avoid to have the airplane sitting on its tail. So for this I will put it all around the cockpit, but to keep it not visible, and then of course we will put it and then we will glue both half of the fuselage. After this we're gonna prepare our wings. They are pretty easy to build as they are just in 2 parts. So just a little bit of glue, preparation of the part of course, and then we're gonna prepare the underbelly. After that we're gonna fill all the gaps with Tamiya putty. We will now start to assemble the engines. For that we're gonna put basically the engine core together. Then we will add the fan disc on the core, and while this is drying we will be preparing the engine cowling, and then we're gonna assemble that together. We will keep the engine lip or the anti-ice for the end. We will now start filling all the gaps with some grey Tamiya putty, and we'll do that over the fuselage, the wings and the engines. After the curing time we will start to remove all the extra putty with 600 grit sandpaper. I'm using a water sandpaper as it limits basically the emission of dust within the home. I will now start rescribing the panel lines, and for this I will use a razor blade saw initially to remove the extra plastic, and then I will use a rescribing tool as well, and that will be able to basically finish and correct the proper panel lines. After this we're gonna fix basically the windscreen on the cockpit. So I did it this way, and then slowly I will use a sharp knife tool to be able to remove it. Then we're gonna remove the extra putty on the gear doors, and then coming home I realized that I had a problem with the decals as they were already filled in, so I decided basically to fill them up and to fill this with Tamiya putty, and to blend them basically on the cockpit and use the decals instead of the windows. After removing the first layers of putty, we're gonna put now the second one, as we want to really have a smooth surface, as we're gonna use those decals passenger windows. We will now move on to the final part of the assembly. We're gonna glue the wings to the fuselage, and then of course we will remove all the little gaps with some putty, and then after filling this up, we're gonna remove the extra putty, of course. We will then move on to the undercarriage and a little bit of paint for the engines. So we are now going to prepare our engine. So initially I will paint the inside of the cowling in a light gray color, and when it's dried, basically what I'll have to do will be to prepare that color, and so I will prepare a mask all around that intake, and then we will put it on the engines and finish the engine. It's now time to move to the paint booth. So we're gonna start painting the horizontal stabilizer, the wings and the engine mount, and for this we're gonna use a very light gray color. For this I'm using a mix of white Tamiya and light gray Tamiya color. The next step will be to prepare the engine and the cowl anti-ice and the wing anti-ice. So for this I will use a shiny metallic color, and I'm using some acrylic paint as well, and that will give a very nice effect. I will now add the light blue color on the fuselage, and I have to say that this time it took me quite a long time to find the proper color, and quite a few try, but at the end it worth it. But I lost, I think, maybe one pot of paint trying to do that mix, but I was quite happy of the final result. But it's a mix basically of a light blue or number 4 and white together, and I started initially with the number 3, or that's the opposite. But the type of blue you are using will be a determinant on what you are doing and the result of that color. After the final part, we are going now to work on the undercarriage. We will now start the last part. We will start applying the decals. So as you can see, those decals are pretty big, but they are very easy to work with. What I normally do is I put some water on top of the model to be able to move them around, and with a little bit of time you can remove all the bubbles and do a proper alignment, but they are not too fragile, and they are very easy to work with. So I'm very happy with those Nazca decal. I've been using them for many years, and I have to say that the result is normally always very nice. So we're going to do the left side, and the tail goes in two parts, and then we're going to let it dry, of course, and then move on to the right side. We're now going to move to the last part of the engine build, a little bit of weathering. So I will use my makeup tools and I will be able to do the proper fitting on those engines. So we're gonna mainly work on the exhaust, and after that there will be a little bit more paint, and they will be ready to be fitted on the model itself. And let's put the final touch on those engines, and then we'll be able to finally mount them on the aircraft, as long as the tail and the engine will be ready very soon for display. So this is the final result of that Embraer 190 on a scale 144 from Zvezda, with the 100th anniversary of the Australian Air Force. I hope you enjoyed that build with me. If you did so, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon for another build video. Thank you for watching.